Ms. Tlaib is up for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Thank you, Director Clements, for this report to really kind of dig deeper into this. I think I get a lot of questions regarding the lack of transparency of fully understanding this. Did you look at the timeline of some of the compensation and payouts and things like that that led up to the failure?
We haven't got to that. We do know that again,
is that something that you would look into?
It's one of the requests that's in the letter that we received from the chair and ranking member Waters.
That would be wonderful. You know, one of the things my good colleague was talking about is regarding regulators, and you said it's not binding. I mean, could they, because they haven't, when was the first time they said, yo, something's going on? The regulators are like, you know, could you call us back? Can you respond? Or something's going on. What year was that?
The first instance that FSOC brought up the interest rate risk was its most recent annual report, which would have come out early this year.
And so they sent a letter, they tell them whatever. I mean, can they go arrest them? Can they fine them? What can they do to make them respond?
The recommendations in the annual report are non-binding.
Yep.
It can also do what are called Section 120 recommendations, but again, those are also non-binding.
So when you do look at the timeline, because I don't know if you can answer to this question, like why did the banks take on the risks and ignore repeated warnings? Why? Why ignore the federal government and their warnings?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer.
Well,
to that.
I think bankers know how to manage risks. They're not stupid. I just think they're greedy. And so, you know, senior employees promoted unsound practices, ignored risks because they stood to benefit from it. Look at the timeline, Director, when you do this next follow-up report. SVB offered some of the most generous compensation packages around. Look at it. Compare it to other banks. In 2022, the CEO, Greg Becker's salary is roughly $1 million, but he enjoyed over $5 million in stock awards last year and $2 million in stock options. Becker also earned over $6 million since 2020 from an incentive compensation plan on SVB's net income, even when the warnings were coming in. This helps explain to me why during 2022, SVB terminated close to $15 billion in interest rate swaps that hedge against the impact of rising rates. The same bank started in 2023 almost completely unhinged because for senior employees, higher net income meant higher compensation, correct?
I'm not familiar with their arrangements. Again, that'd be something we can look at.
You need to look at how the timeline is critically important because you can see how it led up, but they still got benefits. They still won, even though, again, this is impacting now other banks and really people to payroll, small businesses, and so forth. Last year, you know, the Signature Bank CEO, Joe, is it DiPaolo, is that how you say it, received over $8 million in total compensation, Director Clements. I mean, Mr. Clements, do you think that compensation incentives contributed to the poor risk management by the banks?
I don't have a basis at this point.
I know you can't. I just really love to ask that question. I think in the report, you know, one of the things in Dodd-Frank, and it's something that, you know, our committee has been wonderfully educating me on, but the Section 956, it's been, 12 years, they haven't implemented it. Can you, as in your role, Director, look at the impact of not implementing the Section 956 of the Dodd-Frank Act?
We can certainly take a look at those.
Yeah,
issues.
I mean, this is really important because we need teeth. We need enforcement. We need to be able to claw back. We need to be able to, again, hold them accountable because they're just not going to respond. There's nothing we can do. I mean, they're just going to ignore us so they can set it up so they can benefit from it over and over again. You know, one of the things that I think, you know, American people do fully understand is, you know, we as a role of oversight is that we can call it out and do, you know, basically expose the greed, but unless we give the authority and kind of the force and the binding force for our regulators to do something about it when folks unrespond, other banks are going to do the same. They're just not going to respond to us. They're just going to continue doing this, you know, kind of really crooked, very criminal-like actually, set up so they can benefit and get more compensation. My God, they sold the stock when they knew it was false. I mean, they knew and never informed it. To pick up the phone and tell us, hey, yo, sorry, tomorrow we're closing shop. I mean, why isn't anybody more mad at the banks? They literally just ignored the American people when they ignored the regulators. Thank you. I yield.
Penalty's time has expired. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Muser, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr.